Hello folks, well welcome to the Brecon Beacons on what's an absolutely fabulous sort of autumn day. So apart from me coming up to Wales to have a nice walk on a sunny day, I also want to show you my winter rucksack that I use now it's November. My name's John and I make videos on camping, astronomy and walking. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as there may be others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with today's video. So I've come to the Brecon Beacons today to walk up a little hill called Sugar Loaf. It's about 2,000 feet, I think, 500 and something metres. But it kind of stands on its own, and it very much looks like a Sugar Loaf from a distance. Yeah, so it's a very nice little hill.
Walk with me. Let's leave the past behind. Walk with me.
Being early November, I've switched over to my winter day pack. In the summer I use a Osprey Talon 33, which carries everything I need plus a bit of filming gear and stuff like that. In the winter time I need a bit more space. I kind of carry everything but the kitchen sink. So I've got a Lowe Alpine 35-45 Pro Airzone or something, which goes up to 45 litres, as you can guess, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. So my winter rucksack then, that you can see behind me, gives me about an extra 10 or 12 litres over my summer one, and the extra kit that I typically carry in the winter is spare gloves, spare gloves, extra pair of spare socks, a spare hat, and you know, I have had hats and gloves blow off mountains before, and then you've got particularly if your gloves go, you've got very cold hands when that happens. So yeah, I've learned a few lessons there. I've typically got an extra insulation layer over what I'd normally wear in the pack, and in addition I use I call it a stopping jacket. People probably know them more as belaying jackets, but since I don't do any belaying, this is more for like when I stop. And that jacket is a synthetic insulation jacket that's sized one size up from what I normally wear, and the idea is that when I stop for a cup of tea, I put that jacket on over my shell jacket, so I don't have to take stuff off, and that kind of sits in my rucksack all the time. So it's in there today, even though I won't need it. When I get to the top today, it's going to be maybe 4 degrees or 3 degrees or something, so I'm going to need to put on a spare insulation layer that I've got with me, but I won't bother with the stopping jacket. It's not going to be cold enough for that, unless for some reason it's a howling gale up the top. I also have a bigger first aid kit in the winter, and I've got crampons in my bag. I tend to leave the crampons in there. They're in there today, although obviously they're not going to be used today. And normally a winter bag as well for me. If there's any hint of snow, I've put an ice axe on it. So the bag needs to cope with a couple of walking poles and an ice axe as well. So When I stop a bit later on, I'll show you all the different bells and whistles that's on my winter pack. Nearly at the top now. It's quite chilly at the top, and it's in these sorts of conditions that a sack like this comes into its own. The ability to carry lots of extra layers to accommodate potentially bad conditions is a real godsend in the winter. So let's take a look at the rucksack then. The Lowe Alpine Airzone Pro 35 to 45 is a 35 litre sack, expandable up to 45 litres, and currently costs, at the time of publishing this video, between about £100 and £110. My one came from Black's Outdoors. Lowe Alpine call this the spider plate bungee system, and this is really good for storing things like a wet jacket or a wet tent fly sheet if you're using the bag for camping, and it can also accommodate something like a helmet if you happen to have a climbing helmet with you. Also on this face of the pack is a handle, like a pickup handle if you need it, and there's a mesh pocket, one on each side for storing water bottles and stuff. There's a couple of ice axe loops on the bag and corresponding sort of bungee elasticated straps which can be used to secure your ice axe further up the pack, as you can see here. These bits here are what Lowe Alpine call the tip gripper walking pole holders, and as the name suggests, they hold the tips of your poles. The upper end of the pole is held by the same sort of bungee that gets used for the ice axe that you just saw, and the tips of the walking poles fit in the little tip gripper holders. There's also compression straps on either side of the bag for holding your load steady, or equally strapping other bits on or hanging things off carabiners, as I've done here. There's additional storage on each of the hip belts for putting in stuff that you need instant access to, like maybe your GPS or some snacks, that sort of thing. One of the things that made me get this pack was the suspended back system, like a trampoline type mesh that keeps your back away from the back of the pack. So this gives you a lot of nice ventilation around your back to help prevent sweating. The bag has a height adjustment system to suit your back length. It doesn't give a huge amount of adjustment, but you've got like 2 to 3 inches, and it's quite easy to do. The downside of the back adjustment system and the suspended back is this pack's a little bit heavier than some of its competitors, weighs just under 1.6 kilograms, but for me the comfort of the adjustability in the back system far outweighs the extra weight. And there's a sternum strap, as you'd expect. The hip belts and lumbar support area have a decent amount of padding to keep the pack comfortable, and it's a little bit breathable as well. There's a little port for your hydration tube to come out of, and inside the pack is a compartment to put your hydration bladder. I use the lid top pocket to hold my first aid kits, torches, gloves, all that sort of thing. It's quite spacious. The lid's got an inside pocket with a bit of emergency information on it, and on the inside is a little clip onto which you can hang your keys. The primary access to the bag's main compartment is through the top, as you can see here. And it's this expansion piece here that gives the extra 10 litres of capacity in the pack. And to accommodate the extra height of the pack when the extra space is being used, the lid is like a float-in design, which is adjusted by the couple of straps that you can see here. The other thing that made me buy this pack is you can access the main compartment via a side entry zip, as you can see here. So I would typically keep my crampons so they're easy to get hold of in that position there. And there's also another front pocket underneath the bungee system, which I typically use to store my map in if I don't happen to need it to hand at any given time. And finally, on the underside of the bag is a waterproof cover. So there we are. I think the bag's jam-packed full of useful features. The side entry system is great. The suspended and adjustable back system is great. Lots of pockets. So yeah, the only thing against it is it's a couple of 100 grams heavier than it might be, but that's the price you pay for all these bells and whistles. But for a winter pack, I think it's pretty well ideal. So it's pretty cold on the top, so I think it's time to pack up and head back down to the car now. Well, it's a lot warmer down here than it was at the top. I've still got all my layers on, but I think I'll be stripping down to basic layer in a minute. I really enjoyed the walk, it was very nice. I hope some of you found the backpack type information interesting. If you're interested in getting a sort of 40 odd plus litre rucksack for use in winter, or I mean, there's lots of people who actually use 40-45 litre rucksacks for wild camping. Not me, I'm afraid. I've got too many luxuries with me to do that. I'm hard pressed to get everything into 65 litres, let alone 45. But in theory you could use this sort of rucksack for that. But yeah, I'm nearly back at the car now, so I shall say cheerio on this lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.